Number two, that something sudden changes, where things were going good, things were going normal, and then overnight changes occur. This is not normal. So for example, if your business is going to fail, usually it takes a while for the business to fail. If the business is going absolutely great and then overnight no customers are coming in, something's not making sense. And you don't have a causal explanation. You don't have an actual reason, right? If you did something different marketing, you changed the cook in the restaurant, then you know what's the problem, right? But if there's no tangible reason, then you start thinking, okay, maybe this is supernatural, right? When you don't find a natural connection, you start thinking, maybe is this supernatural? So, symptoms of al-ayn. This is one of the most difficult topics to talk about. Why? Because the Qur'an and Sunnah did not come with a list of symptoms. And this entire category, this entire discourse today, it comes from what is called tajruba, experience. So if you went to 10 different specialists, you would get 10 different lists. This is not definitive. Rather, this is a litmus test type of, not a litmus test, sorry, take that back. This is a type of prodding and testing. It's not litmus test. Litmus test means it's definitive. It is not a litmus test, I wanted to say. This is rather a checking and looking, is it possible or not? Sorry to burst your bubble, but to get straight to the point, it is almost impossible to definitively claim that this is al-ayn. This is, I'm just getting straight to the point here. It is almost impossible to make a yaqeeni claim, because this is from ilm al-ghayb. And it is because of this that so many people are skeptical even of talking about this. Like, if you're not even sure that it is, then why make a big deal about it? And the response is because if it is al-ayn, then there are mechanisms to cure it. So here lies the problem. And I'm going to say this bluntly. Unfortunately, the cultural belief of al-ayn is much more than its actual existence. This is definitive. Every single person you talk to of ilm will say this. This is not coming from me. This is coming from all specialists in the field. The cultural belief of al-ayn is exponentially more than the actual existence of al-ayn. This is the fundamental problem. I spoke to a number of raqis preparing this lecture. I am not a specialist raqi. I told you this story multiple times. When I was in Medina for 10 years, the last year I was there, I realized I don't know how to do ruqya professionally. And of course, they don't teach you ruqya in Islamic University. They don't teach you how to kick jinns out. One of the classes is jinn kicking. No, we don't have that in University of Medina. So I realized I needed to study this. So I found one of the local shuyukh that was a raqi. So I spent a few months one-on-one outside of the curriculum just to, get an idea about ruqya. And I dabbled a little bit in ruqya when I came back. And I said this publicly. I stopped doing this because of the headache, because of the personal issues that happen when you open this door, because of the time that it is just too much. And one of the main reasons, once you tell people you do ruqya, 100 people come and maybe 3 of them need ruqya. 97 need to go to a psychiatrist. They don't need to come to me, right? And talk to any raqi, he will tell you the same thing. Any raqi, he will tell you the same thing. I'm not even exaggerating. 95% of people blame something supernatural and it's in their head. So I believe in sihr. I believe in jinn being involved in the lives of people. I believe in al-ayn. But I also say the reality is much, much smaller than what the majority of people believe. This is the problem. So purpose of this lecture then is to give you a little bit of tools so that you can self-diagnose and see whether there is potential for doing something more professional or not. So that having been said, we have to talk about 3 different aspects. Number 1, a physical or a mental problem that has nothing to do with jinn and ayn and black magic. You have a disease, you have you have a virus, you have a diagnosable disease, and you go to the doctor says, oh, your skin is discolored because, you have this, oh, you have this issue here. If your disease can be diagnosed by a doctor, this is not sihr, it is not not al-ayn. Sihr and al-ayn works in ways that modern science does not understand. There are people that have psychiatric problems. They have mental imbalance. It has nothing to do with ayn. It's just their chemical imbalance, or they have some issue. Allah created people with different tests, different struggles. And the default when you're struggling with something, don't bring in al-ayn and ruqya and sihr. The default, as I said, no exaggeration, 90 to 95% of the time, it is a physical or a medical issue. Nothing to do with ruqya. Now, of course, you can do ruqya spiritually. You can do it anytime. You have a headache, take Tylenol and read Fatiha, no problem. The headache has nothing to do with jinn and whatnot. You can read Fatiha for barakah, no problem. So how then do we differentiate? Here's some generic symptoms. None of them is definitive. None of them is a litmus test, is what I want to say. None of them is a litmus test. Number one, it is not diagnosable. If a doctor can diagnose, oh, I'm sorry to tell you, you have cancer. Cancer is not al-ayn. Cancer is not black magic. This is a medical issue, and it has nothing to do with the world of the unseen. The world of the unseen, by definition, operates in ways that are unseen, unknown, in ways that have nothing to do with our causal dunya. So number one, it's not something that you can diagnose in the way that other diseases are diagnosed. Number two, that something sudden changes, where things were going good, things were going normal, and then overnight changes occur. This is not normal. So for example, if your business is going to fail, usually it takes a while for the business to fail. If the business is going absolutely great and then overnight no customers are coming in, something's not making sense. And you don't have a causal explanation. You don't have an actual reason, right? If you did something different marketing, you changed the cook in the restaurant, then you know what's the problem, right? But if there's no tangible reason, then you start thinking, okay, maybe this is supernatural, right? When you don't find a natural connection, you start thinking, maybe is this supernatural? Number two. Number three, and this is the biggest symptom of either sihr or ayn. This is the biggest, if you like, mechanism. And that is, reading the Quran has an impact on you. This is the most powerful symptom that this is not a natural issue. This is a supernatural issue. Because the Quran is barakah, yes, no doubt about that. And if Allah wills a miracle happens. But the sihr and the ayn cannot be cured by natural remedies. If you have sihr, taking Tylenol will not make the sihr go away. Whereas reading the Quran will impact the sihr. You see the difference here, right? Same with ayn. If you have ayn, and let's say the skin is discolored, so one of the common issues is pretty common for ayn is to have patches in your skin, let's just say, right? Especially, as I said, or for men, issues of business. As I said in our last lecture, women generally, the ayn is about beauty and marriage, and men generally, it is about wealth and about fame, okay? So if these issues you find for no reason, it just starts, things change in your relationship for no reason, then reading Quran has an immediate impact. Now, this is warning bells. Okay, this looks ayn or sihr. How do you know if it's sihr or ayn? This is even more complicated now. And I'm not going to go there today. I'll simply say by the choice of verses that the raqi uses and the impact of each verse on the person. So, sihr, the verses of sihr will impact on the person. So Allah says in the Quran, وَلَا يُفْلِحُ السَّاحِرُ حَيْثُ أَتَى إِنَّمَا جِئْتُمْ بِهِ السِّحْرِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ سَيُبْطِلُهُ تَبَعُ مَا تَتْلُو الشَّيَاطِينُ عَلَى مُلْكِ سُلَيْمَانَ وَمَا كَفَرَ سُلَيْمَانُ وَلَكِنَّ الشَّيَاطِينَ كَفَرُوا يُعَلِّمُونَ النَّاسَ السِّحْرَ. When you recite the verses of sihr, then an impact is seen in the person. Whereas if it is al-ayn, the impact is not going to be seen. If you recite verses that are different in nature. So what are those verses? So for example, and again, this is a quick summary, and for longer you need to go to special. Remember what I said. The choice of these verses is experiential. By the cumulative experience of raqis around the world, they have noticed that these verses have an impact. It's just experience, take it or leave it. Of these verses, basically, to put it in a nutshell, all the verses that deal with hasad or that mention the word ayn in it, it seems to impact the person that has al-ayn in an immediate manner. So for example, in Surah Baqarah verse 109, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, says, وَدَّ كَثِيرٌ مِّنْ أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ لَوْ يَرُدُّونَكُم مِّن بَعْدِ إِيمَانِكُمْ كُفَّارًا حَسَدًا مِّنْ عِندِ أَنفُسِهِمْ. If you say this verse and you keep on saying حَسَدًا مِّنْ عِندِ أَنفُسِهِمْ, حَسَدًا مِّنْ عِندِ أَنفُسِهِمْ, hasad, 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 you say this from the Qur'an upon the person, and you notice an impact. We'll talk about what impact in a while. Then this looks like this isn't sihr, this is ayn. Another example is Surah Al-Ahzab verse 19. That Allah Azza wa Jalla says, رَأَيْتَهُمْ يَنظُرُونَ إِلَيْكَ تَدُرُ أَعْيُنُهُمْ كَالَّذِي يُغْشَى عَلَيْهِ مِنَ الْمَوْتِ. You will see them staring at you, their eyes rolling around as if they're about to die. So Allah is criticizing the munafiqeen about how they stare at you. When you quote this verse, Surah Ahzab verse 19, upon the one that has ayn, it has an immediate impact, generally speaking. Another example, Surah Yasin verse 66, وَلَوْ نَشَاءُ لَطَمَسْنَا عَلَى أَعْيُنِهِمْ. If we wanted to, we could have blinded their eyes and they would struggle to find their way. So basically multiple verses. Of course, Surah Qalam verse 51 is especially important because it is probably the most implicit, explicit verse of Al-Ayn. We already mentioned it. وَإِنْ يَكَادُ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا لَيُزْلِقُونَكَ بِأَبْصَارِهِمْ لَمَّا سَمِعُوا الذِّكْرَ. So memorize this as well. Surah At-Tur verse 48. وَاصْبِرْ لِحُكْمِ رَبِّكَ فَإِنَّكَ بِأَعْيُنِنَا. Allah is watching you with His ayn. Allah is watching you. So you recite that verse. Surah Al-Munafiqun verse 4. وَإِذَا رَأَيْتَهُمْ تُعْجِبُكَ أَجْسَامُهُمْ وَإِنْ يَقُولُوا تَسْمَعْ لِقَوْلِهِمْ كَأَنَّهُمْ خُشُبٌ مُسَنَّدَةٌ, so on and so forth. And Surah Insan verse 6. عَيْنًا يَشْرَبُ بِهَا عِبَادُ اللَّهِ يُفَجِّرُونَهَا تَفْجِيرًا. These are all verses that you should memorize. Then the most powerful verses that you already know. Surah Fatiha, Ayatul Kursi, Surah Ikhlas, Surah Falaq, and Surah Nas. You only know these. I don't need to go over them. If you don't know any of the previous verses that I mentioned, even though I mentioned every verse number, if you cannot do any of them, the most powerful verses are the ones that you already know. Fatiha is Ruqya. The Prophet called it Ruqya. Ayatul Kursi is أعظم آية في كتاب الله. It is the most powerful book in the book of Allah, verse in the book of Allah. And Surah Ikhlas, as you know, Falaq was revealed for Ayn. Falaq was revealed for Ayn. And Nas was revealed for Sihr, right? So Falaq and Nas, both of them, they were revealed for Sihr and Ayn. So when you recite Surah Al-Falaq and Surah Nas on the person or on yourself, so by the way, nobody should think that the Raqi has special powers that I don't have. No, you can do Ruqya on yourself. You can do Ruqya on your spouse, your child, your mother, your father. It's just that the Raqi has two things that you can also acquire. Number one, he knows which verses to use. I'm telling you which verses to use. And number two, no doubt there's experience that comes. Right? Otherwise, as you know, we Muslims don't believe in a clergy. We don't believe in a church body appointing holy people and ministers. That's the Catholic Church. That's not us. Right? All of us can lead the salah. Some people are better tilawah than others, but all of us can lead the salah. You know this. Similarly, all of us can do ruqya, but yes, some people have better verse choices, and there is an issue here which needs to be said. The iman of the one doing the tilawah impacts the tilawah upon the ruqya, right? So that's has nothing to do with knowledge. It's iman. Take an elderly grandfather. He hasn't studied any madrasa. He's a muttaqi. He's praying tahajjud. That person's tilawah will not be like the tilawah of the one who's struggling to pray 5 times a day. The iman of the qari has an impact on the ruqya. So try to find a person that you think has good iman and say, Akhi, please recite Falaq and Nas on me. Please recite these surahs on me. Go to your grandfather, go to an elderly person and do it on yourself. Even if you go to somebody, make sure you do it on yourself, because ruqya is always done